What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. See, I am on a roll this week. You guys have to understand, I don't commit to doing content on YouTube, but I have been committed per some requests to do more videos. So here I am doing more videos. I know I owe you guys a live stream soon, and I will get that to you, time permitting. Maybe next Saturday. Next Saturday morning, like around 10 o'clock. If you guys are with the live stream at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, let me know. And I would be happy to link up with you and talk about all of the weird things that are going on in the galaxy that is America and even beyond. But off that, I wanted to do this quick video because, there's been a lot of conversation. Like many of you know, like I love music. Music is my guilty pleasure. And so, I do follow certain genres of music. And I also don't follow award shows, but I follow the outcomes of award shows. So, when I look, I think I started checking out of award shows, not because they were necessarily boring and too long, but because I did not feel like the artists that won the awards necessarily were the right person to have the awards. And it didn't have anything to do with race or, genre or gender or anything like that. It was really that, over the years, we have seen artists who have been, promoted by the industry who were not very talented. There was a lot of industry hype around these artists, but yet whoever molded the artist to become who they became for the public could not maintain that image, and they couldn't really get organic art out of that person. When you have to deal with a bunch of ghostwriting teams and creative teams for one person who's supposed to organically push out everything themselves and have creative vision and all these things, you're not working with an artist, you're working with an industry plant or a shelf life artist that the industry is molding to sort of get a rise out of public for however long they can. And then it's like, okay, we can't do nothing else, on to the next. And you see this sort of with the female rap game, for example. I think you had Nicki Minaj, who was pretty much dominating the female rap game for a long time. And the industry is like, we need another female rapper, right? And I think a lot of female rappers came and went, but they really just did not have the star power longevity like Nicki Minaj. And then I feel like the industry started saying, okay, we are going to raise our next Nicki Minaj. We're going to create our next Nicki Minaj. And I think that's really where you get into your Cardi B's, who, when she came out, I would say this: if Cardi B would have stuck to the Bodak Yellow blueprint that she could have laid out for her career, I think she kind of would have kept more public interest. But because she was all over the place, and she really didn't seem like she was the one really pushing out the art. You can tell an organic artist from someone who is just, they just got a team of people helping them keep up this facade, but I think over time, Cardi really did not come off really organic to the genre or the audience in the hip hop industry over time. I think, her demographic really aren't even hardcore hip hop heads at the end of the day. I really think that they're just people who are, really into more of that mainstream pop. You know what I mean? I think that there's hip hop, and then there's hip pop. And I think that there's been like this blurred line in the genre over the years where new hip hop listeners, they're listening to hip hop and they're buying into popular artists, basically. So not organically good artists, like your old school hip hop artists, like your Lil Kims, your Foxy Browns, your Jay-Z's, your Junior Mafias, all of these cats that really started the game or were founders of the games. That is hip hop with an H, right? And I think Nicki Minaj, she kind of came in and she was that fusion between hip hop and hip hop, and I think that was kind of the way that she was able to save the rap game, is by fusing those two in her artistry and being smart enough to understand that you have to gravitate that pop artist into that hip hop space. And in order to do that, you have to kind of push out a combination of hip hop and hip pop with a P, right? So then you get down to your Cardi B's and your Megan Thee Stallions and your Doja Cats, who are your next wave of female artists. And what you notice is that what they sell the most is typically more of the pop. They're not selling the hip hop, because a lot of these artists aren't really raw hip hop. And the problem with not being an organic artist, right, and you're being sort of this industry mold, is that you're going to always have to have your ears to the streets. You're always going to have that friend that's in the streets, because if, you are constantly rapping about street life, hood life, struggling, ignorance and stuff like that, you need to be in tune with that as you elevate in your career. And the problem with a lot of these hip hop artists is once they reach a certain level in their career, they really hit a plateau in what they can actually rap about. And that's why a lot of people say the most organic time to get an artist is when they're not signed. You're going to get their best work, because most artists, they create based off of experience and struggle, right? But when you are in a situation where, the only struggle you have is a hater, right? And you're gloating about your riches and stuff like that, so you can't really rap about financial struggles, right? Because nobody's going to be able to relate to you on that, because you're worth millions, right? You can't rap about really the hood realities that other people go through. So the only thing you can rap about is glorifying your wealth, right? Glorifying your wealth and your haters. And that's where that plateau comes in with a lot of these artists, because there's only so many things that you can say about a hater, and then at that point, the industry is like, well, let's create these beefs. The industry has always created beefs against artists, right? We saw it with Big and Pac. We see it with, Nicki Minaj and Kim, and Nicki Minaj and any other rapper that came up after her, even some of them that came before her. We see these industry beefs to take down an artist that is way too good. You even see it with Kanye West, right? When the industry knows that they're dealing with a creative genius, which is what Kanye and Nicki Minaj are. They are creative geniuses. And whatever you may think about their personalities or their characters, you have to give them that credit for being organically creative people, which is what the industry is starving for. So getting back to the Grammys, they know that they are awarding a bunch of artists that they have pushed, and they're trying to convince the mainstream that this person is of value. So in order to make people think that this person is of value, we're going to give this person an award, even if there's a more talented artist that deserves to have that credit. We're trying to push the image of this individual. And so that's why, you see a lot of these newer artists, a lot of their numbers aren't really, calculating right. If you're getting 130 million streams, that means that you should be selling, at least 1 million copies of your new album, or 100K copies of your albums. 100K copies of your album within your first week, at least 100K. But when you see these artists where they're pumping them up and they're hyping them up, and then when you see the numbers, the proof is always going to be in the pudding. And the real pudding is always going to be record sales and concert sales. Now, I think a lot of these artists are kind of getting the recoup from their record sales by saying, let me just drop this single and make this single from the record really hot. And even if the record don't sell, at least I got a hot single out of it, and I've made money off of the single. And DJ Academics made a really good point, a couple of, I think last week when he was talking about, some of these female rappers that have been flopping, right? Or who are struggling to get numbers. And he was like, like, for example, Coi Leray, valid point. Coi Leray shouldn't drop albums. If you're doing really good, making money on TikTok and you are getting a lot of viewers and streams off of just one song, just drop a song every 3 months and call it a day. You don't need to drop an album. And I think the sooner that a lot of these artists realize that you're maybe putting too much energy into, a whole project when you could just make your single your project and do what Doja Cat did. I mean, Doja really created a hype around the singles that she pushed out for Scarlett, so that the whole idea of what she was pushing out was to get curiosity. Now, whoever was maybe guiding her in that decision did not do a good job at sort of mitigating sort of what all of that persona, that Scarlett persona would be, right? And so Doja ended up, offending her fans, and the proof was in the pudding. Her album dropped and it really underperformed what many people thought that it would do. And that's just to say that she's gotten a lot of accolades. She's been pushed on all these different charts. And, when you really, put it into perspective, numbers can be manipulated. A lot of people don't even want to deal with anything unless they can manipulate the numbers, meter the numbers, in some kind of way. And when you look at, artists, like I said, who are getting outcomes under expected, but then you look at all these views and all this stuff like that, something does not add up, right? And getting back to the Grammys, and even any of these awards, like the Grammys, any of these awards, you realize that, this person got snubbed for this person. Now, did they snub that person intentionally, to spite that person, or did they snub that person because they're trying to elevate somebody else in that category? And if we were to let raw talent win, then this person that we're trying to elevate obviously would lose popularity, right? And so I think a lot of people are looking at award shows now, like I heard somebody call the Grammys the scammies, right? Because, and even BET is losing, interest, because a lot of people are realizing that these award shows are not really organically, these awards are not being organically distributed based off of pure talent, distribution, and numbers. It's really being distributed off of who do we want to be popular. And if we're trying to elevate another artist that is not in a 360 deal, higher than somebody who elevate, an artist that is in a 360 deal above somebody who is not in a 360 deal, then obviously, right, they're going to snub the artist that's more independent, right? Because they're trying to make their money, and they make the most of their money off of these 360 deal artists who basically signed a contract with a scarcity mindset that they wanted to be famous and make money, but they didn't really understand what that meant. But some of them, they are finding out that, hey, sometimes when you sell your soul, which is what basically these 360 deals are, you are selling yourself, your image, your likeness, your time. And you aren't the creative person all the time when you're in those deals. You may have to perpetuate ideas that the people in this deal want you to perpetuate. I think that's what's going on with a lot of these artists who they come off on an underground awesome. They might do really well. They have a personality and character, and then all of a sudden they get in a 360 deal and they literally turn into the devil. They start talking about demons and devils. So anyways, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. I just wanted to put this out there because I know a lot of people, if you still check into award shows, comment, let me know why you're still doing it. If you don't, tell me when you stop watching them and why. Have a good day, guys. Bye.